Hey Stacy, I can't start my video. It's not giving me that functionality. I assume it's the same for everyone else.
Thanks, Heidi. Yeah, I think they're working on getting that up and going as we transition from one committee to the next and have to restart everything.
Okay.
So thanks for flagging that. I had it at the beginning, so hopefully that will get figured out here soon before we start. Just want to give a quick update to those of you who are joining. The previous committee ran a couple minutes long. And so we're just getting our staff a couple minutes extra to get going here before we start Public Safety and Health Committee. So grab a refill on your coffee and hold tight, and we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Diana or Kathy, I'm not quite sure who's on the other end of the Zoom link staffing us today. Just if you could just let us know whenever you're ready. I realize the previous committee ran a little long, so take whatever time you need, but we'll wait for you to give us the heads up.
It'll be just a moment, Stacy.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
Stacy, we're ready.
Okay, thanks so much, Kathy. Thanks everyone for your patience as we switched over from committees. Hopefully everyone has the ability to turn on their cameras. If not, please let us know and we'll get that taken care of. All right, great. Well, welcome everybody. I'm gonna call today's Public Safety and Health Committee meeting of April 14th to order, and we'll get going here. As everyone can probably tell, we're still continuing to meet remotely in our virtual format here on Zoom, but there are still plenty of ways for folks to continue to engage with us on City Council. And the best way to find out all the information about upcoming committee meetings as well as upcoming council meetings, and to provide comment and see the links for the agendas is to visit the city's website, www.ci.missoula.mt.us/webcasts. That is the portal for how to engage with us remotely. You can always additionally send an email to council 24/7 to let us know your feedback on issues. And that email is council@ci.missoula.mt.us. You can also leave a voicemail for us at 406-552-6012. This meeting, as well as other council meetings and committee meetings, is broadcast on our YouTube channel, as well as MCAT Cable Spectrum TV channel 190. If you are joining us today for Public Safety and Health, there are ways you can either be logged in via the Zoom link, or you may have called in to participate. If you would like to give comment when that opportunity is presented, you can either raise your hand using the Zoom function, or if you're calling in, you can on the phone press *9, and that will raise your hand, and you'll be recognized and allowed into the meeting, or you can press *9 to lower your hand again. Thanks so much, Kathy, for putting that screen up on your website, or up on the website for everyone to sort of see a visual of what I just read out loud. Mr. Ramos, I see you have your hand up. Are you having technical, is there something you want to?
Oh, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not having technical difficulties, but John unfortunately did not get the link from Marty. Is there any way that we could get somebody to send him that?
All right. Thanks so much for flagging that. I'll see if I can, one of my other council members could be so kind as to forward today's link on to Mr. Contos. Looks like Council President Von Lossberg is going to do that. I don't know if I can multitask to that level and run the meeting and send an email at the same time. So thanks for that. If we could do a quick roll call vote, understanding that a couple members are still logging in, that would be great. Kathy, are you able to do that, or would you like me to?
We can do that.
Thanks so much.
Starting roll, Stacy Anderson,
I'm present.
John Contos.
I believe he'll be logging in momentarily.
Thank you. Mirtha Becerra,
Present.
Heather Harp,
Present.
Jordan Hess,
Present.
Gwen Jones,
Present.
Julie Merritt, Jesse Ramos,
Present.
Amber Sherrill,
Present.
Sandra Vasica,
Present.
Brian Voss Lossberg,
Here.
Heidi West.
Present.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Kathy, and we'll be on the lookout for Mr. Contos when he is able to join us. So we have minutes to approve from our last committee meeting, which was April 7th, which was the confirmation of new police officers. Are there any amendments to the minutes? Seeing none, those will stand approved. Okay, so we have one agenda item today here in Public Safety and Health, and it is due to the fact that the state legislature passed Senate Bill 127, and it was signed into law by Governor Gianforte on the 10th of this month. And this law is now changing how we appoint or how we have municipal judges here in our municipality. Sadly, I think this will be the first of many times we have to come together to change what we are doing because of what the legislature is doing this particular legislative session. So, Mr. Bickle will give a presentation about the effects of the passage of this bill and how the changes that we need to make here in Missoula to basically move from having part-time municipal judges appointed to now we are going to be required to have those positions all be done by elections, which are expensive, and yet there is no additional funds provided in the passage of this bill to help facilitate the changes changes that the legislature is requiring for us. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bickle to present on what we need to do to be in compliant with this new law. Mr. Bickle, are you able to share your screen? I know you have a couple slides you want to run through.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to run through the effects of SB 127 and our implementation plan. I would like to note that Judge Jenks and Tina Reinecke are here from Municipal Court, and as well as Jim Nugent, to answer questions. So with that, I will share my screen. It's up. I see Ms. Cheryl has her hand up.
Dale, while you're switching to screen share, you're very faint in your audio. So if you could just either get closer to the mic or speak up, we would appreciate, because we do want to make sure that we capture what it is that you are saying.
I started having a microphone problem on Zoom in the last couple of days. It usually resolves itself in a few seconds. It has not, you're saying.
Try turning on your original sound, Dale. It's up in the upper left corner.
I've changed headsets. Can you hear me better?
That is much better. Thanks
Very
so
good.
much.
Thank you for alerting me to that. I will share my screen. Okay, are you sure you're seeing my screen okay? All right, we're here to present on SB 127, revised laws on selection municipal court. This at this time, this is only an update that we will be asking to come back with council action. But what I'm essentially here to explain is our implementation plan relative to this bill. So what the bill does, SB 127 eliminates city's ability to have appointed part-time assistant judges. This bill is effective 1 year after passage and approval, and it was signed by the governor last Saturday on April 10th. Currently, Missoula Municipal Court has 2 part-time assistant judges. We have a 0.85 FTE judge and a 0.75 FTE judge. So these positions must be replaced by elected judges in approximately 1 year. The challenges are, we did discover some implementation challenges as we were researching this bill. And it's because implementation, although implementation is a year out, the only municipal election within this time frame is the 2021 election. As you all know, filing opens next week on this bill. And the real predicament we find ourselves in is that state law doesn't provide for special elections for elected officials. They're really intended for ballot initiatives and those special types of things. And in working with Jim Nugent, we really struggled with how to do this. So that's why we're coming to hear you. In order to do this, the election administrator needs notification by the end of this week for new elected officials. So we devised this plan. The mayor will send a letter to the county elections administrator regarding the city's intent to create 2 new elected judge positions. These are recommended to be full-time positions over the part-time positions we have today. I mean, we have capacity issues, and increasing these to full-time now would be a decision ahead of the election. However, these positions are required to be acted on by ordinance as required by that statutory site in the slide. And so we will work with council to establish that ordinance as soon as possible. But there's some things that we have to work out related to an ordinance relative to creating positions. As you all know, Judge Jenks is retiring at the end of her term. So with SB 127 and her retirement, there will be 3 new municipal court judges elected in this municipal election. The the previous legislature set rules related to the determination of a chief judge, and it was based on seniority. We're going to have 3 judges that will be elected at the same time. So we are hoping that we can figure out a way that we can maybe establish seniority through ordinance. The other thing is that we will have 3 judges all with the same term. Not sure we can do anything about that, but we want to look into the ability to have staggered terms so we don't have all 3 judges on future ballots all at the same time. And another policy decision that and others could crop up though is the dates of the new elected positions start. So we're going to have 3 brand new judges. We have through April to implement. And do we want to take the opportunity to maybe phase in when an elected judge starts, so we don't have 3 new judges on day 1? All of those are being internally considered right now to see how the best way to move forward on these. Other matters. So during the budget process, there are going to be some other things that we're going to have to figure out. Whether there's going to be different staffing needs with 2 new elected judges, particularly in the area of judge clerks. I think that's a question that that we will need to answer through the budget process. And also establishing a 3rd courtroom. We're operating with 2 courtrooms today. We've recognized the need for in our space needs analysis to create additional courtroom space, and our plan was to be able to do that in the federal building. This is coming earlier than expected. So I'll switch to fiscal impacts about that. So the fiscal impact of adding 2 full-time judges itself is not significant compared to our overall budget. It'd be about $50,000 difference between the part-time judges and the new judges coming on. That's an approximation, but it's in that neighborhood. But other costs are going to be have to happen between equipment and space, and we'll work on those through the budget process to get those established. As I mentioned earlier, we only have 2 courtrooms today. I think providing a 3rd courtroom is going to be a challenge for us. I think it's going to have to be in close proximity to existing municipal court functions. So that's going to come at a cost. And unfortunately, I think with our future space needs plans, we're going to be doing this twice. We're going to have to create a 3rd courtroom, even temporarily, potentially in City Hall, and then our space needs plans for the federal building that will come in is actually going to is creating space for 4 courtrooms. With that, I'm done with this presentation. Happy to answer any questions, and with the intention of the mayor notifying the elections administrator of the city's intent to create these 2 positions. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dale, for that presentation. So as he mentioned, this is informational at this point, but as his timeline laid out, because we are coming up upon filing for election, all of this will move pretty quickly. So appreciate kind of giving us a heads up so that we can track this. So we will now move to questions from council members. First up, I have Ms. Harp.
Thanks, Stacy. Dale, thanks for bringing this to our attention. I think oftentimes our legislature, unfortunately, doesn't have the benefit of time to be able to vet a lot of these proposals that become law in a way that really can understand the impacts to local municipalities that are actually in doing the work that they are trying to oversee. So I guess one question I have is, considering our current staffing at 1 full-time employee and then 2 that are part-time, how do we today avoid having a 3rd courtroom? Whereas if we go, as we move forward with the implementation of what SB 127 does, how does that make it a mandate that we have a 3rd courtroom?
I would actually ask Judge Jenks or Tina to talk about how they manage that courtroom times now, if that is appropriate.
Yes, please.
Well, what we're doing right now is we actually have 2.5 courtrooms, I think I would say. We operate 2 courtrooms full-time. We have, I don't get any office time in this process. So when I do orders and things like that, I do them over lunch or outside of the court time. The assistant judges split that second courtroom. It's really not a great solution because obviously it would be better to have a judge that follows a case so that you have one judge that's doing the case from start to finish as opposed to 2 that are handing it off. When we do our jury trials, which are every Thursday, we haven't been, doing those. We just started those back up. I think we've done 6 now. We have the ability to use a 3rd courtroom for jail court. So we have to do jail court every day. And so if we're doing jury trial, for example, we've got 1 judge in jury trial. We've got 1 judge doing what we call waived jury trials. And then we have the 3rd courtroom that's available for jail court. But it isn't something that you can have people come in very readily to observe when we're back to in-person appearances. Due to COVID and issues with jail and non-appearances, we're going to be coming into, or the court, I won't really be here, but we're going to be coming into a really big backlog coming our way when we start doing in-person appearances again, when things start to go back to normal from COVID. You're going to really see a need to have more court time for judges than just the 2 courtrooms all day. The other problem is that I think that when you have a judge, I think there's an expectation that that judge is going to be able to sit on a bench. So as we come back to in-person appearances, you're going to need that 3rd courtroom. It's one thing to be trying to do it with 3 Zoom accounts, but I think a judge is, as a judge, entitled to have a bench. So I think you're going to have a really hard time saying that we're going to have a judge that isn't going to have that ability. We can have and need to have office time, but we also need to have bench time. We're having a heck of a time getting stuff scheduled, frankly, for things like change of pleas right now. We've done some changes in the way that we operate, so we're trying to push the attorneys into doing changes of pleas earlier, and that's working really well, but we're backed up, and that's going to continue to be a problem as we move forward through. As we get back to normal from COVID, we're going to have a backup. We're going to have a hump that's going to have to be gotten over.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that question and answer. Next up, I have Gwen Jones, who appears on the screen as Council President Feinland Blossberg. If you look at her name, it's like, how are they on here twice? So.
Sorry, I didn't get that link. So Brian shared his with me, but no, I'm Gwen. Thanks. Just a couple comments and then a question. It's just really hard. I feel like the community needs to know so much of what we do oftentimes comes down to these unfunded mandates, and then we got to make it work. So I know people complain about taxes all the time, but I don't see any other way of financing this either. So we'll just have to handle that this summer. But I guess, Dale, my question to you is, we're looking forward to the federal building. Well, there'll be a lot more space, and it's just such a bummer that we have to create more space right now and outfit it when we've got that coming down the road. So part of my question is, I don't know if there's any way of making it work or just the long goal here, the long game is having great courtrooms in the federal building, and that'll come before we know it. But to the degree that we can not spend as much and put the money towards a federal building, I'm all for that. And then in the back of my mind, I just go back to the 1980s sitcom Night Court, and I don't know the degree to which we can. I know that's a conversation that's been had in the past. I believe there's a lot of union contracts with the public defenders in terms of working those hours. I know it's complicated, but given the year of pivoting that we just did, I'm wondering if that's a conversation to reopen at some point, because I do wonder if you would also get higher attendance from some of the people that you're trying to get into court, if there was some flexibility in scheduling. So that kind of my two general subjects there, Dale.
Well, great questions. I think, this bill came at us fast and furious, so we really haven't had the opportunity to look at alternatives. Like, are we able to get into a lease relationship on the federal building in order to do some of these improvements or anything like that? And so all of those type of things, operational changes, I think we would. We will certainly start investigate in the coming weeks to see if we can figure out the best and most efficient way to do this.
Thanks so much. It looks, Judge Jenks, I see you raised your hand. Did you also want to comment on this?
I do. I don't have any idea how to lower my hand.
Oh, it's okay. I'll take care of it.
Okay. A night court would require a legislative change. The MCA's set our hours. And so to do night court, it would be a good thing. I mean, I think it would be a good thing, but it would require a legislative change. So probably not going to happen right away.
Thanks. Well, it's something to be thinking about, it sounds like. And we're in an era of change, so maybe we should be talking about these things. Thank you.
Yes, too bad they didn't include that flexibility within this legislation. Mr. Von Lasberg.
Yeah, maybe this would be the time to just be clear that this was my takeover of council, because John Contos was using my name and Gwen, but now I see the rebellion is over, so it's been corrected. I just wanted to be clear in the referral. There was, it references, council's intent regarding the number of judges, and just for clarity, I want to concur with, what the administration is bringing forward with regard to those numbers. Barring objection, I believe that's going to be consistent across this council. If any council member disagrees, this would be a time to express that, but I wanted to be explicit that I concur with it. Tempted to go into a lot of less than professional comments around the unfunded mandate and timing issue, but I will resist doing that.
Thank you for that. Yes, I thwarted your takeover because I know how to change people's names on Zoom. Sorry for that. All right, folks. Well, I see. Oh, wait. Nope, your stand is still up. So we don't have any public here in attendance, which is why I didn't call for public comment earlier. And there's no public still to comment on this particular item. I thank Mr. Bickle and Judge Jenks and staff for bringing this to our attention. Appreciate the fact that it's coming at us fast and furious, and we will track this, but we will hear it again here soon to basically put all the pieces in place that we're that we are now legally required to because of the passage of this bill. So thank you. Dale, do you have anything more you want to say before we sign off?
I don't. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks everyone for your flexibility. I know we started a little late. Know this is kind of a big topic, and yet we only went 2 minutes over. So you still get a little bit of a break before ANF at 12:30. So thanks so much everyone for your time. And with that, I will adjourn today's public safety and health meeting. Thanks.